Your experiences, autobiographical, all true? All true? I think autobiographers are big liars. He laughed appreciatively, I thought. Because? You can't trust what you remember, can you? Memory is too unreliable to be truthful. I do like that, man, he said. Man. Surely he had used that word, so incongruous for him, to assert some affinity with what he must have considered was the language of the streets I had written about. Do you prefer fiction? He added. It's more honest in its disguise. Man, I said, feeling odd to address him in that way, but deciding to accept his borrowed tone. I think the camouflage of fiction allows more authenticity. You know, acknowledging that it is a fiction, a terrific lie, and that you want it to be believed. Very good. You'll like the island. I didn't like being graded. If that continued, I'd object, and eventually I would become used to the way he changed subjects randomly, perhaps following shifting thoughts, and I would soon find out that the subject of experience, now only implied, would recur in startling questions and revelations between us. Not yet, but soon. I took out my wallet to pay for my lunch. No, please. He placed his hand on mine to emphasize his insistence. You're my guest. Asserting control? If so, I would deal with that. I was intent on creating a level field in my relations with him, whatever they might turn out to be. As we were about to walk out, the waitress moved hurriedly to delay our exit. She asked Paul, You the folks on the island? Paul paused before responding icily, Yes. The kid still there talking stuff? She had rushed her words as if to make sure she would speak them. Paul did not answer. No doubt she was referring to his son. It was not a friendly inquiry, and Paul had pointedly ignored her. Back in the car, Paul said, My son, Stanty. That's his nickname. He prefers it because he hates his real name. I've told him about you, and he's excited to meet you. You'll like him. He's exceptional, and he's an expert swimmer. I warn you, he's very competitive. That was a competition I wouldn't invite, swimming with his son or him. I had never learned to swim. How old is Stanty? Just turned 14. 14? From what he had said of the boy's excitement at meeting me, I had assumed someone older. What had this boy been told about me to arouse his expectations? Oh, of course. His son would want to be a writer, and if he was 14, then Paul would probably be older than I had thought, perhaps in his 40s, the early 40s. He had the exceptional good looks that some handsome men retain, appearing younger. We drove several miles through a leafy area out of the quaint village. When I read your stories, I know what it's like to live by one's wits. That's how I've lived my life, my adult life, he said. I was sure he was not referring to the kind of hustling that I knew, street and bar hustling that I preferred, because of the blunt directness I considered honest. Although he had relegated that association to his adult life, I chose not to respond with any welcome of kinship, which I seldom, if ever, felt or courted. He parked in a cleared space at the edge of a sprawling lake. We walked out of the car onto powdery dirt, like beach sand. Trees lined the inland shore. They were vivid green, not scorched by the sun. There was not the slightest rustling of their leaves, not a whisper of a breeze. 2 rowboats were secured to a post next to 2 motorboats. The water, pristine, almost crystalline, was so calm, the day so traumatized with heat, that the boats made no movement on the lake. Island! Island! He had shouted those 2 words, startling me, as he looked out to the distance. Island! Island! Came a distant answer from the lake. Island? That's what Stanty first said. He laughed. When I brought him here the first time, he said it was as if he were entering a world that was his and mine. We signaled to each other that way. I grabbed my duffel bag before he could and shoved it onto a motorboat. Just out of the army? He asked me, nodding toward the duffel bag as we boarded the boat. A couple of years ago, I said. I'm glad to be